Hello everyone, my name is Abby. Welcome to Let's Excel channel with this English learning video number 2 for beginner level students. In today's video, we are going to talk about the simple present tense. But first, I will talk about how to interpret your scores in the English test that we saw in the previous video. In video number 1, we talked about an English evaluation test that allows you to determine your level, whether it is in A1 or A2 level for beginners, B1 or B2 for intermediate level, or C1 and C2 for the advanced levels. You will find the link for this test in the comment section. Once you finish answering the test questions, you will be asked to submit your answers. Once done, you will get your score right after passing the test. If your results are from 1 to 7, you are in level A1. If your score are in between 8 to 14, you are definitely in level A2. If you get from 15 to 21 points, you are in level B1. If your score is in between 22 to 28, your level is in B2. If you succeed to get more than 29 points, you are definitely in an advanced level. Again, this test gives you just an estimation of your level. A complete English evaluation should include a testing to your listening, speaking, and writing. Again, the link for this English test is in the comment section. Let's start our today's lesson, which is about the simple present tense. The simple present tense is a tense that is used when we talk about facts, actions happening at the present moment, or actions happening regularly or repeatedly. We will give some examples about when to use the present simple. First, we use the simple present when we are talking about facts. For example, you live in South Africa. That's a fact, and it is true as long as you live in South Africa. Another example, she speaks French. This is a fact that is independent of time. We cannot say she speaks French today. The fact that she speaks French is always true. This person speaks French, always true. Another example, I am a student at Ryerson University. This is a fact. He is a man. This is a fact that is always true. I don't drink alcohol. Even with negative form, I can say I drink alcohol. No, I don't drink alcohol. In both cases, we have to use the simple present because I'm talking about a fact. In all these statements, we are talking about something that is true all the time. The second case, we use simple present to talk about regular actions. For example, we pray 5 times a day, which means we pray regularly 5 times a day, or we are repeatedly praying 5 times each day. So when we are talking about regular actions, we use the simple present. Another example, the train leaves at 5 p.m. every day or every week. It doesn't matter. It is a future fact set by a timetable. At exactly 5 p.m., the train leaves the station. Another example, the exam starts at 8 a.m. The exam is not starting yet. It starts at 8 a.m. It is a future fact set by a timetable. I visit my family doctor for a checkup each year. Each year, regularly each year, I visit my family doctor to ask for a checkup. She doesn't call us every day. Every day, it's a regular timing. Every day, she calls every day, or she doesn't call every day. So we have to use the simple present to talk about regular actions. Now, how do we make positive statements? Let's take this example. I speak German. If we look at this sentence, we have I, which is the subject, speak, which is the verb that is in the simple present, then the rest of the sentence. If we change the subject, we say you speak Italian. We speak Spanish. They speak Arabic. I change the language by purpose so you can learn new vocabulary related to the languages. The language in Italy is Italian. The language in Spain is Spanish. The language in Arabic countries is Arabic. The verb speak takes the same form with I, you, we, and they. Now, with he, she, it, we say he speaks Portuguese. She speaks Russian. It speaks Japanese. So we add an S at the end of the verb speak with he, she, and it. So the rule for positive statement, we use with I, we, you, and they, the infinitive form of the verb, then the rest of the sentence. And with he, she, and it, we add an S or an ES or an IES to the infinitive form of the verb, than the rest of the sentence. For most cases, we only add s at the end of the verb, but we add es for verbs ending in a vowel or ss or s or sh or ch or x or z. So with these endings, we add es. And we add ies for verbs ending in a consonant, not a vowel, followed by a y. In this case, we remove the y and add ies. Let's see some examples. We watch this movie every year. Every year, that's a regular action. So we have to use the simple present. The verb watch ends with ch. With we don't have to add anything to the verb. We watch this movie every year. If we use the watch with she, we add an es at the end of the verb. She watches the news every evening. We cannot say she watch it's too heavy. So instead of only adding s, we have to add es because the verb ends in ch. Let's take the example of the verb study. Study is the verb that ends with a consonant d followed by a y. With I, we, you, they, the verb stay in its infinitive form. I study in New York. They study in New York. With she, he, or it, we remove the y and add an ies, and we say she studies languages. He studies languages. It studies languages. Let's take another example. He plays soccer. The verb play is a verb that ends with y, but before the y, we have a vowel. We don't have a consonant, we have a vowel. The vowels are A, O, I, E. So since it ends with a vowel followed by a Y, we directly add an S at the end of the verb. He plays soccer. She plays basketball. For modal verbs such as can, must, shall, may, might, etc., with these verbs, we don't change the verb. We don't add an S in the third person in the simple present tense. These verbs don't take an ending at all. For example, I can, you can, they can, we can. With he, the verb stay can. He can, she can, it can, with no S. It doesn't take any s at the end of the verb. In English, we use a lot the verb to be and the verb to have. Let's take a look at to be. How do we conjugate it in the present simple? I am a teacher. You are full-time students. They are immigrants. We are happy. He is absent. She is cute. It is expired. So the verb to be in the present simple, I am. With you, they, and we, it takes are, you are, they are, we are. With he, she, or it, we say is. He is. She is. It is. For the verb to have in the present simple, we have I have a brother. You have a new pair of shoes. They have a lot of money. We have eggs for breakfast today. He has a great idea. She has a very good vision. It has two pockets. So for the verb to have, it's simple. With I, you, they, we use have. With he, she, it, we use has. I recommend you to try to make your own sentences with these verbs in order to remember the change in each verb. Now, let's move to the negative statements. When we want to say no in English, we use don't or doesn't to make a negative sentence in the present simple tense. For example, I need a coffee. That is an affirmative or a positive statement. I don't need a coffee. That is a negative statement, which means the opposite. I need a coffee. I don't need a coffee. You notice that we keep the verb at its basic form, the infinitive form. The rule for the negative statements is we use with I, you, we, they as a subject, we add the auxiliary don't plus the infinitive form of the verb. With she, he, it, we use doesn't plus the infinitive form of the verb. We notice that don't is the same as do not, and doesn't is the same as does not. We call these contractions. We contract the two words to make it only one and make it shorter. Don't, doesn't. Let's have some examples of negative statements. I go to school 6 days a week. 6 days a week, that's a repeated, regular action, 6 times a week. I go, so I have to use the present simple or the simple present with I. The verb go doesn't take any ending. I go to school 6 days a week. With he, The negative statement for this sentence is I don't go to school 6 days a week. We add don't and we keep the verb go in its infinitive form. With he, the verb go takes an es. It's an irregular verb, and the verb ends with a vowel o, so we add es. He goes to school 6 days a week. The negative form of this sentence is he does not, he doesn't go to school 6 days a week. We don't say he doesn't goes. We keep the verb at its infinitive form. He doesn't go to school 6 days a week. Now let's look at how do we make questions in the present simple. If somebody asks, do you speak English? How do you say, do you speak English? So in English, we use do and does to make questions in the present simple tense. For example, do you speak English? We have the auxiliary do, the subject you, the verb at its infinitive form, and we add the question mark at the end. If it was she, instead of using do, we use does. Does she speak English? The auxiliary does, the subject, the verb at the infinitive form. Remember, the S is in the auxiliary do, does, she, then infinitive. And of course, the question mark at the end. To summarize this, I have prepared this question. We will start by an affirmative statement, and I will let you a few seconds to think about the negative form, then the question. The first example, I cook every day. What is the negative form of this statement? Yes, I don't cook every day. So how do we make question? How do we make a question from this sentence? And you have few seconds to think it over. That's it. Do you cook every day? Do you cook every day? Do or does, then the subject, then the verb at the infinitive, then the question mark. Do you cook every day? Let's look at the second example. She writes reports weekly. She writes reports weekly. The negative form? Perfect. She doesn't write reports weekly. She does not. She doesn't write reports weekly. And we don't say she doesn't write. We remove the S. We keep the verb at its infinitive form. She doesn't write reports weekly. Try to make a question now. Does she write reports weekly? Does she write reports weekly? The last example, he has a car. He has a car. Think about the negative form. Perfect. He doesn't have a car. He does not have a car. The question now, does he have a car? Does he have a car? So you can try to make your own sentences like that and try to move from affirmative or positive statement to a negative one, then try to make questions and try to use it with she, with he, with I, with you, to see the difference. That's all for the lesson today. Remember that you will find the link for the English level evaluation test in the description box or in the